Hi everybody, Dana Litwin here again, and welcome back to Tuesday Tips for Leaders of Volunteers. Today, talking about high staff turnover and the impact that has on volunteer services, whether that staff turnover is you yourself as a leader of volunteers wanting to get another job, or worst case scenario, being laid off suddenly without warning, and kind of how to get away from what I call the quicksand effect. And I call it the quicksand effect of this feeling of instability and constant sinking and this downward sucking spiral of doom, this doom spiral that can happen with organizations when they have a pattern of high staff turnover, which invariably leads to high volunteer turnover, or just a lack of ability to recruit volunteers at all, because nobody wants to jump on a sinking ship. If you are stuck in a quicksand effect, if you're on a sinking ship, to mix my metaphors, I know what you're going through. It's happened to me. I've been laid off very suddenly. I was with an organization that had 30% cuts across the board, and myself in volunteer services and a bunch of other departments were just like, here's your box of stuff and go out the door, and that's that. And it's shocking, and it's terrible, and it doesn't inspire you to do anything to help the organization that is doing that. But it's actually better for the profession and advocating for our professionalism if, while we're in a job, if we don't like that job and we're gonna look for something else, because the best time to find a job is when you have a job. If you're looking for that next thing and you feel like you're in a quicksand organization, then I've got Carve Your Own Path that talks about that. But high turnover is really a symptom of bad leadership at an organization. So either they're not paying a living wage, which is unfortunately all too common, and or there's too much work. It's burnout. It's 80 hours a week. It needs to be 40 or 50 hours a week, and there's a lot of exploitation and maybe even some labor overtime violations occurring. And it's always fascinating to me that the executive leadership and CEOs, they're never the ones that cut their own jobs to save money. It's always people lower on the hierarchy that get jobs cut, which is very short-sighted because it does lead to that doom cycle. What you can do if you're at an organization that you don't want to stay at much longer, and you're looking for another gig, but what you can do to help yourself and help volunteer services, if you care about your team of volunteers and any other staff you're working with, and help the next people coming into roles, is to create as much stability, at least within your department and your processes and policies and systems and softwares that you can. So if you have a written manual of behind the scenes, this is what it takes to do this, that's helpful if you're the new person stepping into a role and you get to inherit that and it's all written down and you can step right in. That's also helpful for the next person with your organization, whether you're leaving voluntarily or not. Hopefully you have control over when you take your next career steps. If you haven't, then, and you've been laid off, and again, I've totally been there, and I sympathize and empathize to the highest degree. It's reach out to those professional networks. In the USA, it's Alive. In Canada, it's VMPC. I'll put the links to those organizations below and talk about other ways to kind of expand and create your professional network. But we're here for each other as leaders of volunteers, and we want to make sure that as a network and as a community, we can support each other and help each other find the best fit where there are good wages, it's a good company culture, and executive leadership has a real understanding by the numbers and by good business development and business strategy that it is an incredibly bad idea to cut anything about volunteer services. That's really the foundation. So if you need to manage up and have those conversations, I've got some other video links here to Tuesday Tips and Priceless advice, and also I'll put some links below. But it's really about knowing your worth, knowing that it is a career, that this, when there are career setbacks, you can still level up to the next level. As upset and depressed and anxious as I was after my layoff, I was able to find something else within a couple of months that was a good enough fit that I could be there for less than a year before I found something even better than that. So dust yourself off, reach out, phone a friend, reach out to your networks. And if you land in a situation where you feel like you're in quicksand, you can at least try to stabilize your department or your area as best you can, not only for your own benefit and the benefit of the team, but in an ideal circumstance, that helps to communicate up to management and board that don't make a bad decision again. You've got to keep stability in volunteer services, even if cuts are happening elsewhere, or the whole organization's going to come crashing down sooner than later. So again, I'll have lots of resources below. I hope that you enjoy these quick Tuesday tips, and we'll see you next week with more on this channel. Like and subscribe, share this with friends who might need to hear this message of hope and resilience right now and what to do in this situation. And we'll see you next time with more. Take care.